How do you think we should do the intro for this video?
Like, that's cheeseburger.
Just say cheeseburger.
Yep, that's it.
Should we tell people we're in Iceland?
Yep.
No? Should we tell them we're doing POTA?
That's probably a good idea. But
Or will they figure it out?
they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Just say cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Cheeseburger. Hi, I'm Rob, N1MUG. That behind me is the 40-meter bar here in downtown Reykjavik in Iceland. Now, we're not going to be going in the 40-meter bar today, but we are going to be doing 40 meters. Well, maybe not 40 meters, but 20 meters. Try and make some contacts here from Iceland. Maybe even get a few POTA parks activated. But before I head out into the park, I want to test out the setup I have in my Airbnb that I've rented, which is in that white building right there, next to the 40-meter bar, coincidentally enough.
As you may have guessed, this is not really called the 40-meter bar. It's the Lebowski bar in downtown Reykjavik. The reason I'm calling it the 40 meters bar is because one day when I was walking by, I saw this sign in the window that said 40 meters and then another word that begins with a B that was cut off by the window frame. So I immediately assumed that word was bar, and from then on out, I called it the 40 meters bar. But in reality, it's the Lebowski bar, and that sign reads 40 meters back.
So I've brought along my trusty Yaesu FT891. Now it's a little bit heavy and bulky for the backpack, but it fits nonetheless, and I managed to kind of carry it around without too much trouble. And this gives me a full 100 watts to work with, which I'm probably going to need. Now for my battery, I've got this 7 amp hour LifePo4 battery. Now you can see this is an 89.6 watt hour battery, which is under the 100 amp hour requirement for international flights. So I was able to get this through. Although I did fly out of Logan, Boston, and the guy did check my bag and kind of swabbed the battery to make sure it was okay. But he checked the rating on the side and he said everything was good to go. So I was only detained a few minutes. Now for an antenna, I ended up bringing along my JPC-12. I was able to pack this whole thing up and put it in my checked bag. I didn't even try to carry this onto the plane. I'm not sure if these poles would be constituted as weapons or not. And we were checking bags anyway, so I figured it wouldn't be a problem in the checked bag. Now, I ended up bringing along 2 lengths of RG8X coax. This is a bit heavy. I don't have any RG174, but if I did, that's probably what I would have used. And then, of course, I've got also in here, just in case I find a place I can work with it, my Reliance Antennas bug out. This is a 40-meter end-fed half-wave, although I'm not sure I'm going to have anywhere to put this up. There really aren't a lot of trees in this country, and even if there were, I probably can't put a wire in them. These, of course, are the radials for the JPC-12. Now, the whole key to the JPC-12 is instead of the ground spike, you can see that's not here. I left that at home because I didn't want to trigger anything in the bag scan as far as it being any kind of a weapon. But instead, I substituted this little tripod that I had. I think this came with a microphone or something. You can see it's got a 1/4-20 thread on it, which isn't directly compatible with the JPC-12. But I have this little adapter on the bottom of the feed point here, so I'm able to kind of put this on the tripod. Now, it's not very stable on this tripod unless it's on extremely flat ground and there's no wind. So I'm probably going to have to kind of brace the bottom of it somehow, but we'll figure out that problem when we come to it. Here's my setup. I'm going to test it out here at the hotel in Reykjavik. You can see the big church is up there behind me, and I'm up on a 4th floor terrace. Tuning around, I can hear some signals. I'm going to try and make some contacts from here. Let's see what happens. I'm not sure if you caught it, but I'm going to point out at this point that I had forgotten to install the counterpoise wires on the bottom of this antenna. Now, I was able to tune it up, and as you'll see in the next few clips, I made a few contacts with no problems at all. I think either the coax or maybe the metal beams in the roof of the building were sort of acting as the counterpoise and allowed me to use the antenna like I would have if the counterpoise wires were there. Tango Foxtrot / November 1 November Uniform Golf.
Okay, Tango Florida / Norway 1 Norway Uniform Golf. Thanks for call 57580 QSL. Sierra 51 Delta X-ray, Sierra 51 Delta X-ray, standing by.
Tango Foxtrot / November 1 November Uniform Golf.
TTF/November 1 November United Golf. Thanks a lot for Iceland. Sounds okay with me. You are halfway to the US from my side. About 5 and 8, 5 by 8 into Slovenia and Europe. And my handle, Janis. Juliet Alpha, November, Echo, Zulu, Janis. Go ahead, how copy there?
Echo Golf 1, Whiskey Alpha.
Tango Foxtrot / November 1 November Uniform Golf.
Tango Foxtrot / November 1 November Uniform Golf 5 and 9.
QSL 59 Iceland.
Thank you, 73 Echo Golf 1, Whiskey Alpha.
At this point, two things happened in succession that made me sort of cancel my operating activities up on the roof. The first was that somebody came to the door of the terrace and started kind of fooling with it. Now, I had earlier noticed that there was a lock on the inside of the door, and I had also noticed that there were some open windows above the terrace. So I thought maybe somebody had come to the door because I was making too much noise and they were unhappy with me and had locked me out. So I got nervous, and after the person walked away, I went over to check the door and I found out that it wasn't locked. But at the same time that I was checking the door, all of a sudden the fire alarm in the building went off. It turns out that the lady in the apartment just out of the frame on the left had burnt her evening meal and set off the fire alarm. Either way, I figured that was a sign that I probably ought to cut my operating short, so I packed everything up and went back into my hotel room and decided that I wasn't going to operate from that rooftop anymore during my trip to Reykjavik. Over the course of the next couple of days, we visited a bunch of places in sort of southern Iceland that were also POTA parks, but we had so much packed on those days that there wasn't time for me to do any POTA activating from any of those places. But on one of the days, we decided to take a trip to the peninsula that's sort of north and west of Reykjavik. And while we were there, I ended up having some time to do some POTA from a park near Arnarstapi. Now, even if I could pronounce the name of this park, I'm not going to attempt it because with my Connecticut accent, I would just butcher it and do it a disservice. But either way, this is the park that I ended up activating. This particular park is known for the stone statue that greets you when you first arrive. And it's also known for stone arches that are formed into the cliff right at the edge of the ocean. There's lots of opportunities in this park to kind of view those arches, and there's even one or two that you can walk across.
What do you think? Should we try to do POTA up here?
Yeah.
Are you excited about it? Be honest.
Not really.
Okay, I'm gonna do POTA from here.
Okay.
What is the name of this place?
I'm still feeling up there. It's like I could still be.
I can't remember the name of it either. And even if I could, I don't think I could pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll just post it on the screen or something down here.
Yeah.
So the way I'm going to do this is set up this JPC-12 antenna that I brought with me. And you can see I've got this tiny little wimpy tripod. And as long as the wind doesn't blow too much, it shouldn't fall over. Let's give it a try and see if it works. So here's the setup. I've got my backpack on the base of the antenna to keep it from falling over. You can see I've got it set up here. And I've got it tuned for 20 meters. Actually, there it goes. So I think I've got this thing rebraced. I've got some stuff on the ground. Hopefully it'll stay up. The ground's not very even and that tripod's not very good. But in the meantime, I'm gonna run over to that restaurant that's right there behind me that has free Wi-Fi, and I'm gonna try and spot myself and see if we can get this park activated. CQ POTA, Tango Foxtrot / November 1 November Uniform Golf. Calling CQ POTA from IS 0027 in Iceland.
Foxtrot 5, Papa, Yankee, India, QSL. I'll see if there's any other conditions towards Iceland there. Beaming towards the north. Mike Whiskey 0, Juliet, Kilo Uniform in company. Anybody else? But I'm in company with some friends of mine here in Wales from my local radio club there, so hopefully you can work the other guys as well there. Just stand by there, Rob.
Mexico Whiskey 7, Kilowatt Radio Papa.
Mike Whiskey 7, Kilo Norway Delta, QSL.
Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet, Tango United.
Mike 6, Mike Yankee Charlie.
That is 1, Echo. George 4, Papa Victoria Mike.
2 Echo 0, Victor Zulu Tango to yourself. Park reference is Golf Bravo 4858. Repeat, 4858 to yourself.
November 4, Hotel X-Ray Juliet. Golf 1, Juliet Delta Tango. Mike 7, India Hotel Golf. Mike 0, November Sierra Italy. Mike 0 and SI 59 into East Manchester, over. Golf Whiskey 0, Radio Mike Bravo.
Germany 4, Sierra Echo November. Rob, to yourself.
Echo Alpha 5, Alpha, Queen Alpha. Mexico 7, Hotel Quebec November.
Sugar Mike 3, November, Radio Yankee.
Sugar Mike 3. Whoops.
Sierra Mike 3, November, Radio Yankee, SM3NRY, Roger.
I was able to make 18 contacts. Now that activation started off real slow and I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to work anybody. Somebody activated me or worked me right when I first spotted, right after I came back from the restaurant over there, and then I had nothing. So then I tuned around the band and I found a radio club from Wales, and all the guys in the radio club were kind of on the air talking, and I was able to work 4 or 5 of those guys, and then I was not getting anything. So I walked back over to the restaurant, respotted myself, and that did the trick. I had a bunch of stations come in and I was able to make 18 contacts, and at the end I had a pile up that I had to leave because we've got to hit the road. It's about 7 p.m. right now. I'm not really worried about it getting dark because it doesn't do that this time of year in Iceland, not completely anyway. But we do have a 3-hour drive back to Reykjavik, and we've got to get up a little bit on the early side tomorrow morning to start off on our next family adventure. But if things go well, I'm going to activate tomorrow afternoon from a park somewhere near Reykjavik. We'll see. But this was a great activation, and I'm so thankful that I get to play ham radio in a place like this. Today is my last full day in Iceland, and we've had a packed week. We've driven around all over the southern and kind of western part of the country, and we've seen a lot of the sights. And my son and wife are just tired out this afternoon, so they're going to lay down and rest. But me being me, I'm going to try and head out and do a POTA park that is, I don't know, 6 or 7 kilometers away from kind of the city center here where we're staying nearby the church. Once again, I'm not going to try to pronounce this because I'll just butcher it, but this is the park that I ended up activating, IS-0044, and it's located here on sort of the western peninsula outside of Reykjavik. The big church is located right here. Now you may notice there's a couple of other parks in close proximity. Now one of them is the Grota Lighthouse, I think that's how you say it, but I read online that that was closed right now. The whole area was closed for bird migration. So I didn't attempt to do that one. And then there was another one kind of closer in, and I just didn't have time to check that one out. I think I've made it to the right place. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but the spelling on that word matches the spelling on the name of the POTA park that I saw on the POTA map. So I think we're in a good spot. But it is beautiful here, so I'm going to walk around a little bit and just kind of see what's here before I kind of open up the hatch of the car and set everything up. I think I'll just activate from the back of the car like I did yesterday. Now, unlike yesterday, I don't have Wi-Fi within sort of close walking distance of where I'm going to activate. So I'm kind of making a decision here as to whether or not I'm going to follow this trail that kind of rings the end of the land here. And maybe if I get close enough to that building, which is sort of a country club or a golf club, maybe I can pick up an open Wi-Fi and kind of spot myself there. But I think I'm going to try and do it the hard way and just set up and call CQ and see if whoever hears me, if anybody hears me, will pick me up and spot me. Now, one thing that is in our favor here is the saltwater amplifier that Salty Walt always talks about. I'm not going to set up right here on the water, but hopefully I'm close enough to get some kind of effect. I do have water on both sides within, I don't know, a football field on that side and half a football field on this side. So maybe we'll get lucky. I'm all set up and ready to go, and I've got a little bit more stable setup than I did yesterday at that other place we were at. I've got the antenna over here sort of next to the car, and I've got the counterpoise wires spread out in sort of 3 directions. I don't want to run them into the parking lot for obvious reasons, but I've got the antenna on the asphalt, so it is staying up. There is just an ever so slight breeze here, but I don't think it's enough to knock anything over. I've fired up the radio here in the back of the car, and I'm hearing plenty of signals. There's lots going on here. So hopefully I can make some contacts. I suppose I could sit in the back of the car. I'd probably be a little more comfortable that way, but it's nice out. So I'm just going to squat here for as long as I can. I've found a clear frequency. I'm just going to call CQ. Now, I probably should have looked into the Soda Mate FT8 thing or whatever it is, but I just didn't have time before I left. But one of these days, for the next activation like this, where I don't have any kind of cell service, I'm going to look into that, because I think it would be handy for a situation like this. But let's just see if we can make some contacts. If I can't do it by calling CQ, I'll just tune around and look for somebody else calling CQ and see if I can work enough stations to activate. CQ POTA, this is Tango Foxtrot / November 1, November Uniform Golf, calling CQ Parks on the air from IS0044 in Iceland. Rather than make you listen to all 60 contacts that I made during this activation, I'm just going to show you my log. Now, when I first started off, I think it took maybe 5 or 10 minutes for the first station to come back to me, II2WWA. But from there on out, you can see my contacts were spaced at about 2 minutes apart. So people were hearing me and working me up until we got to about SP1BXS. After that, the contacts started coming fast and furious. I think he's the one that must have spotted me on the POTA page. Now you can see after I worked Golf Whiskey 0 Papa Lima Papa, there was about a 3-minute gap or so, and then things picked back up and we're moving along pretty nice. Looking at the last page of the log, you can see things moved along pretty good with contacts every minute or two up until Florida 4 India Quebec Uniform. After I worked him, things kind of went dry for a little while. And truth be told, my legs were starting to cramp up from squatting in the back of the car. So I got up and kind of walked around a little bit, shot 1 or 2 of the next clips that you're about to see, and then I went back and tried 40 meters. Now, I worked 40 meters for about 10 minutes, called CQ, and nobody ever came back to me. So I ended up going back to 20 meters, and I came across OE3BIY, who was working a forfer. So I was able to get 4 contacts for the price of 1, and then at that point, I decided I would just wrap things up and head back to the hotel. So I've made 56 contacts so far, and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to head back to the hotel or if I'm going to try and make some more. But I needed to take a break and stretch my legs. The back of that car was getting cramped, and a breeze came up a little bit, so I was getting kind of cold. But I wanted to show you this. This is always inevitable. This parking lot has 4 cars in it, but it's probably got 25 spots. Now you can see there's my car, the red one, and I had set my antenna up right next to it, and somebody pulled in and parked right next to the antenna. They could have parked anywhere in any of those other spots or any of these free spots here. It is inevitable that when you're out doing POTA and you set up an antenna, somebody is going to get close to it, no matter what. The antenna did end up tipping over once, so I braced it with my stuff here, and it seems to be staying up nice and stable so far. Now, one more thing I want to mention. This battery worked out really well for this activation. I was running 73 watts on the radio the whole time, and this lasted over 90 minutes, and it's got life to spare. I don't know how much more it's got, but it's got something left in it. We'll have to do a capacity test on this and find out, but I ended up picking a 2-pack of these things up for, I think it was around $35 on Amazon. Something like that. Perfect travel battery for this type of situation. Now, I did bring a charger. I have it in the hotel, so I can charge it up and activate tomorrow if I want to too. So I ended up switching over to 40 meters, and I called CQ for a while, but I didn't make any contacts there. I went back to 20 meters and I made 1 more contact, but it happened to be a guy in Austria working a forfer. So I think that puts my total log count up to about 60. So that's not too bad in about an hour or so's worth of time operating. So I think the saltwater amplifier did its job like Walt said it would. But anyway, I'm going to hit the road and get back to the hotel and have something to eat. So I had a good activation over on the other side of town, but I'm kind of back here in the city center now. And I just wanted to mention, in case you ever come to Reykjavik, there's free parking on, I guess, what would be the left side of the church if you're facing it, for whatever reason. All the other parking on the right, behind it, and on the streets over here is all paid parking. But if you're lucky enough, you can grab one of the free spots over there, like I just did. I pulled in to see if there was anything free, didn't expect to find anything. Somebody was pulling out just as I was pulling in, so I grabbed that spot. Anyway, I'm gonna walk back down the hill here to where my hotel is, and we're gonna find something to eat for dinner, And then I guess that's it. We're heading back home tomorrow. So at this point, I've made it home from Iceland, if you can't tell from the surroundings around me. Now, I'm not somebody that really likes to travel. My wife always kind of has to twist my arm to kind of get me excited to kind of go on these trips. But I'm glad that she does, because it makes me go out and experience some of the world that I wouldn't do kind of on my own. And I'm especially glad that she talked me into going on this Iceland trip. The country was beautiful, and if you ever get the chance to go, I highly recommend it. And if you can bring along your ham radio equipment and operate POTA while you're there, even better. There's so many POTA parks that are in that country, and every one of them is beautiful in its own right. So even if you can't operate POTA, I recommend visiting as many as you can if you get the chance to go there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video and seeing a few of the snippets of my experience in Iceland. 7-3 for now, and thanks for watching.